Hello everyone. Before we start today's video, if you could all do me a solid and lightly tap the like button, perhaps share the video about and leave a comment. If you are not subscribed, subscribe as well. It would greatly help this channel. Thank you very much. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's log, subdates 220804.7. You wouldn't believe it, but the bleeding crew has only gone and joined a union. They, the NPC crew, get no wages, no quarters, no discernible rights, but somehow food is where they draw the line. Wow. Hello everyone and welcome to the exhibition of stupid people. Today we're going to start with the NHS Transgender Clinic in Tavistock, which very recently had to announce its closure because there's been a problem, a big problem. With the increase and rise of people who have been diagnosed with dysphoria, there's been even more issues with making sure the resources were available for them to be able to best cope with those changes, go through those changes, and that is perfectly fine and reasonable. The issue is, a report recently came out about the Tavistock Transgender Clinic that doesn't do them any favours and also leads to more people saying a lot of this feels rushed. A lot of this feels like you were just pushing it through and not giving it the correct thought. So an ongoing review of Tavistock's Gender Identity Development Service, or GIDS clinic, is accused of rushing children into life-altering treatment on puberty blockers. I have said multiple times, and I will always say this, children should never be on them because you're still using a child mind to make an adult decision. You cannot prevent puberty. It is an immutable fact. Everyone has to go through it regardless. NHS England has said that its services for children must now shut its doors by spring of next year. GIDS is the sole provider of gender dysphoria and gender identity services for children and young people across the UK. This was sparked by a review by paediatrician Dr. Hilary Cass, who had found it was not safe or viable long-term option and that other mental health issues were overshadowed by gender concerns when children were referred to the clinic. This comes not long after a former patient called Kira Bell took the clinic to court, accusing the doctors of rushing her into taking puberty blockers at the age of 16. The replacement for GIDS will be regional centres at existing children's hospitals, which will in turn provide a more holistic care with strong links to mental health services that should have been there in the first place, and everyone knows that. It is believed that the move is likely to be seen as a victory by some campaigners who have previously accused GIDS of rushing children into life-changing puberty-blocking drugs. In a letter to NHS England expressing concern over the use of these drugs, Dr. Cass had said, staff should maintain a broad clinical perspective in order to embed the care of children and young people with gender uncertainty within a broader child and adolescent health context. The original intent of the review was to probe several issues affecting the clinic. The first was the sheer number of referrals. In 2021 to 2022, more than 5,000, which is a big climb from 2011 of 250. The nature of the cases, particularly among those in the early teens, had also changed, with the majority switching from birth-registered males to birth-registered females. There were also concerns that a significant number of children were presenting with neurodiversity and other mental health needs and risky behaviours, which needed to be looked into deeper before setting them on the path of transitioning. With the report reading, this has led to a lack of clinical consensus and polarised opinion on what the best model of care for children and young people experiencing gender incongruence and dysphoria should be, and a lack of evidence to support families in making informed decisions about interventions that may have lifelong consequences. This has contributed to the current service being unable to meet the scale of rising demand. Also writing, a further concern is that adolescent sex hormone surges may trigger the opening of a critical period for experience-dependent rewiring of neural circuits underlying executive function, i.e., maturation of the part of the brain concerned with planning, decision-making, and judgment. Oh look, my earlier simplified point is still correct. Try to imagine my shock. If this is the case, brain maturation may be temporarily or permanently disrupted by puberty blockers, which could have significant impact on the ability to make complex, risk-laden decisions as well as possible long-term neuropsychological consequences. Bye, Tavistock. I guess you'll be missed. So next, 3 Metropolitan Police officers have gone on trial at Westminster Magistrates Court. They are accused, oh, this is cute, of sending grossly offensive messages in a WhatsApp chat. The police are enough of a joke as it is. I saw on Sydney Watson's Instagram yesterday that someone was being arrested for causing anxiety based on a social media post. The police are enough of a joke as it is, but now they're even going after their own. This is, well, it's cute, isn't it? Yes. In the group chat, though, was Wayne Couzens. Wayne Couzens, well, he's a bad person. He committed unaliveness of Sarah Everard and S.A. to Sarah Everard. Within this WhatsApp group, they all chatted and joked about going on pussy patrol and described part of West London as effing Somalian S-hole. Poop hole. Yes, that's what it is. Jonathan Coburn, William Neville, and ex-PC Joel Borders, all accused of sending this material with the disgraced officers in 2019. What's made this a tad trickier for them is that each were serving at the time, and each were on duty at the time the messages were sent. Within the group, another person who has not been charged wrote, "Mate, they aren't going to ditch you with your skills unless you finger a DV victim." To which one of them, Borders, replies, "Oh, John, in that case you're probably effed." Coban had written, "That's alright, DV victims love it. That's why they're repeat victims more often than not." Borders' reply, "No, they just don't listen." The next exchange is between Coburn and Borders. Cobbins had described his commute through Hounslow as a effing Somalian asshole, adding, "Great, there goes my pussy patrol, more like FGM patrol." Because there is a trend within certain African nations for genital mutilation to take place. All genital mutilation must be abolished and banned in every country, unless medically necessary. F your religious practices and your cultural practices. I don't care. Borders had replied, "Feltham is worse. I went there the other week and I felt like a spot on a domino," including that was a bunch of emojis showing a white-faced male surrounded by brown faces of different hues. The messages do go on. While I don't think it's right they sent messages while on patrol, because they have a job to do, I don't see how these private WhatsApp messages should be used against them to charge them with grossly offensive. If you're going to go with that, I think everyone in this country needs to go to prison very quickly, because you'll be hard-pressed to find an instance where someone somewhere hasn't said something remarkably spicy. By the standards you set, spicy that is. These aren't the most appropriate of messages, I'll agree. But police officers should be held to a higher standard. No, they're pigs. No one respects them in the first place. They have no power, and they're shit at their jobs. And they know it. This to me is another valuable, totally not wasteful use of resources, time, money, taxpayers' money, on making an example out of police officers by saying, "You have no power, but we have to set an example. You must be punished. You have to be better than this, police officers, even though you have no power and no one respects you." Don't you just love a little balance in the force? Next, we're going to talk about Tala Safwan, an Egyptian TikToker and YouTuber. Over on TikTok, Tala has over 5 million followers, on YouTube over 800,000, who was recently arrested in Saudi Arabia. Would anyone like to take a guess why Tala Safwan was arrested? I'll give you a hint. Morality played a part. If you guessed it, well done. The police in the strictly conservative kingdom say that the video recently put out on Tala's channel could harm public morality. With her short dark hair, expressive face, the young vlogger's frothy, upbeat style is aimed at teenagers. Her videos are catchy, tabloid-like headlines. She discusses TV shows and issues sent in by followers, mostly about relationships and embarrassing situations. She sets up pranks, carries out challenges. She's basically a YouTuber. 101, this is the hallmarks, the basic standard for any cliche YouTuber. No offense to you, of course, Tala. In a clip, she's seen chatting to a female Saudi friend, whom she invites to her house. Her subsequent remarks have been interpreted by some as being sexually suggestive. That then set off a campaign against her with a hashtag trending on Twitter that translated as "Tala offends society." Well, a society is more accurate. She had responded to this by saying that she'd been misunderstood and denied there was any lesbian subtext in her comments, a subject that is still publicly taboo in Saudi Arabia. I think most forms of homosexuality are, to be honest. Hardly a surprise. But they're also adding that the clip had been taken out of context from the full video in order to cause a scandal. The police in Riyadh announced that they had arrested a local resident who appeared in a broadcast talking to another woman with sexual content and suggestiveness that could have a negative impact on public morality. Fuck me, this stuff is hilarious. The police did not name Tala, but included a clip of the video with her face and that of her friend blurred. So yeah, she's been arrested. My view on this is quite simple. I fully understand that there are cultural norms in other countries and sexuality, certain liberation-related sexuality that should be accepted in most places is not yet accepted, and that's understandable. There's always going to be backlash to that. We saw it during Pride Month with more and more people saying, I don't support Pride Month because of my religion. You had that with a member of FaZe Clan, I believe, and it's always going to be that way until enough people sway that. While someone in charge of that country can try and fob himself off as more libertarian, liberal, that person, he's not. He's just granted a few good things to make himself look good, but the assassination thing didn't help at all, really, did it? At this point, I think even he knows the only thing anyone likes to talk to him about is oil, so they pay him lip service. As far as Tala Safwan goes, I've never seen her content before, but I can say the idea of determining what is and is not moral is remarkable, and I'm glad that things like that totally don't exist in this country at all, right? Jokes aside though, please do free Tala Safwan because honestly, she could just go back to Egypt if it bothers you that much. So next, the Wagatha Christie trial. Between footballer wives, one ex-footballer, now manager, and the other one still footballer, Coleen Rooney and Rebecca Vardy. They were both friends at one point for quite some time because obviously wags, they have something in common. Their husbands both have a small amount of talent when it comes to kicking a ball. Their husbands are also renowned for being incredibly thick. If you want proof of that, watch them give an interview after a football game. It's quite something. I had initially covered the trial, but it well and truly bombed on this channel, so we didn't cover it again. But as it's now reached a conclusion, I want to quickly talk about it. Rebecca Vardy's reputation is now in tatters because she lost the libel case. Coleen Rooney had accused Rebecca Vardy of leaking false stories about her private life to UK tabloid The Sun. Because stories were being leaked from her personal Instagram account, and with very few followers on it, she decided to lay some bait. Someone took the bait, and Rebecca Vardy was the only person that could have done it. During the trial, Rebecca Vardy clearly was not prepared for anything. She did not properly, adequately convince the courts that any of her evidence was credible, with courts saying that it was necessary to treat the claimant's evidence with a very considerable caution, determining that significant parts were not credible, along with the part where Rebecca Vardy's agent had left her phone at the bottom of the North Sea. The court determined that the loss of both the claimants and the copies of the original WhatsApp conversations were deliberate rather than accidental, and that the reason her agent was so reluctant to give evidence was that she knew that to a large extent the evidence she was due to give was untrue, and on whether Rebecca Vardy had leaked stories to The Sun. The court had found that Mrs. Vardy, together with her agent, they were party to the disclosure to The Sun of the marriage, birthday, Halloween, pajamas, car crash, gender selection, babysitting and flooded basement posts. All incidents that had happened, some of which were fabricated. Guess which ones? The fun thing really here is, this is a completely pointless trial. It's going to cost over £3 million. Tell me you've got too much money without telling me you've got too much money. You're lucky your husband makes a lot of money. If Coleen had lost, it's fine. Wayne's worth over 100. Jamie's not, i.e. Rebecca Vardy's husband, Jamie Vardy. This was a pointless thing about honour, all because a friend could not be a friend and felt that she had to, on the side, leak stories. How shit are you as a person that you can't be a friend, you snake? Now let's move on to the final story, concerning Prince Harry and I believe the hashtag that trended, Prince of Pegging and Prince William Affair. The Duke of Sussex, a title he does not deserve anymore, has taken legal action against the Home Office. He is arguing that he is unable to return home because it is too dangerous. The legal battle currently has cost the Home Office more than £90,000 between September and May. That is expected to rise because Harry was granted part of a claim for judicial review. The thing is, Harry, if he was an active royal, would have been granted police protection, but the moment he stopped being a senior royal, the moment he left this country and sodded off to Silicon Valley, the moment he sold out his own family for millions of dollars, which he can then afford to use for private protection if he really wanted, he chose, no, I'm going to be a little bitch about this. And he's been a bitch for quite some time. Royal experts believe that Harry and Meghan are immune to any criticism, and they do this because they play the victim exquisitely. Harry, with his dislike towards journalists, and his mother, which he's able to execute as a rather useful shield, and Meghan, Whammon, and colour. These are excuses that can be used because Harry also then claimed his family were all massive racists. There are a number of allegations, though, that have come out recently about them. For example, Meghan Markle threw a cup of tea in the air during a royal tour, while the Queen was said to be pleased that Meghan Markle couldn't attend Prince Philip's funeral. A book being published by Tom Bower also claims that Harry and Meghan wanted to appear with the Queen on Buckingham Palace's balcony during the Platinum Jubilee celebrations. The answer to that should always be no. You're not an active royal, you're not a senior royal, and you would only want to be there to make it seem like you can use this for Netflix, which is exactly how many people have interpreted it. Bauer himself has admitted that those that helped with the research of the book are people who are less than fond of the couple, and Harry and Meghan themselves have no input whatsoever in the biography, no doubt because they make nothing from it. I like that at present Prince Harry is worth $10 million, in some places, and others $60 million. Yet you want the taxpayer of this country, a country you have well and truly shat on, to give you protection from us, people who couldn't care less about you, while you hide in your ivory tower preaching about certain crap that none of us here give a crap about. That's cute. Now, I mentioned that Prince of Pegging was trending. Well, the reason why it was trending is because they were used to hide the fact that Harry has cost us 100 grand so far, and also the fact that he has himself lied about wanting to pay for the security himself. And honestly, if you want proof of that, this image should suffice. I did like that with the Prince of Pegging going on, Ryanair tweeted this out, and people got really triggered. I thought that was funny. The reason why is because apparently Prince William likes a bit of pegging, and also there's a rumour that he himself had partaken in an affair at some point. As far as the pegging goes, I couldn't care less, and as far as the affair goes, that's actually dead news. But by all means, latch onto something. I don't mind. It makes for interesting coverage as time goes by when people say, oh well, Harry may have lied about all of this, but William likes it up the chuff.